NBA draft lottery tonight. Victor Wembanyama awaits, 19 years of age, 7'5". His wingspan is 8 feet. He does things like this. NBA scouts are in awe of him, making outrageous claims like he invented the question mark. Also, Nuggets and those underdog Lakers. Let's go. Lakers Nuggets in a second. News of the day from the NBA. The Philadelphia 76ers firing Doc Rivers. This Game 7 loss, this second round exit, the tipping point. Frank Isola around the horn to you. How does that move strike you? And what direction can you see the Sixers going now?
Yeah, not surprised at all. You know, they're not going to blame the players, just like in Milwaukee, just like in Phoenix, and certainly now not in Philadelphia. I think if you go back to that Game 6, I think the loser of that game, there was probably a pretty good chance might lose his job. What was the difference? Jason Tatum seized the moment. The MVP of the league touched the ball once in the last 4 minutes, didn't score. Then he put up 15 points in Game 7. So you want to blame Doc Rivers and recite all the numbers. First guy to lose 7 series when his team is up 3-2. That's all fine. Joel Embiid didn't get past the second round before Doc Rivers. He didn't do it during Doc Rivers. Good luck now doing it without him. Maybe it'll be Mike D'Antoni, Monty Williams, J.J. Redick's name's been out there. A whole voice, the whole thing. It's still going to come down to their best player delivering in big moments. And he did in Game
so you're
6,
putting this still
in Game 7.
I mean, Doc Rivers parting ways with the Sixers, and it's still about Joel Embiid to Frank Isola. David Dennis Jr., I'll turn to you.
Yeah, well, I agree that Game 7 can't all be put on Doc Rivers' back. Joel Embiid and James Harden both disappeared. The guy is 0 for his last 11 elimination games in the second round. Like, some of these numbers about his playoff record seem made up. And the way that these seasons end, where things with him and the star players seem to be deteriorating at the end of these series. James Harden seemed non-committal about wanting to play with him, and Ramona Shelburne saying he won't come back if Doc is there. These teams fall apart towards the end of the season. As far as the 76ers, Monty Williams is out there, Nick Nurse is out there. You have to get the right coach for this championship window.
J.A. Adonde.
Well, it's the continued devaluation of the regular season, right? Doc Rivers, Mike Budenholzer, Monty Williams. These are the 3 coaches with the best regular season records the last 3 years, and they're all gonzo as of today. One thing I want to say about Doc, we've all heard those numbers about elimination games, Game 7s, 3-1, 3-2 leads, etc. The other part of his legacy, and that part's inescapable. The other part, let's look at what he's meant for black coaches. Really, prior to him, there hadn't been a black coach win an NBA championship since 1986 until he won with the Celtics in 08, and it's led to black coaches being hired for teams that already have championship caliber talent in place. Mostly Doc Rivers in LA and here with the Sixers, but also Ty Lue taking over the Cavaliers and getting his Clippers job too. So that's part of Doc Rivers' legacy as well.
This Philly spot right now, though, Jay, you have a gut read on this? Are they going to go to somebody with experience or try to be somebody with a new face?
Well, there's so many experienced guys out there and available that I think you have to go in that direction because the pressure, you need somebody who's at least been there before and won championships. You have guys like that who are available.
Mina Kimes.
You know, of the 3 coaches fired who have had successful regular seasons that we've been talking about, Bud, Monty Williams, and Doc Rivers, this is the one I find the least surprising. As everybody said, Doc Rivers is not entirely responsible for what happened in the playoffs this year, his 2 stars melting down. But his record at this point in closeout games is undeniable, and it should matter more than his record in the regular season. Frankly, I think Sixers fans would be happy with an upgrade or with if they were to move on to the other coaches I just mentioned, especially Williams. They don't have a lot of levers to pull this offseason. It's going to be challenging with regards to the decisions they have to make, especially with James Harden. But this is the one they could pull, and it felt like a necessary one to turn the page on what was a disastrous postseason.
Philly, Milwaukee, Phoenix. Rank those jobs, Frank Isola.
Oh, for me, Milwaukee's number 1 with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I would not be shocked if Doc ends up there. He's a Chicago guy, played at Marquette in Milwaukee. Doc always ends up coaching superstars. One thing about Philadelphia job, and David mentioned it with James Harden, it's amazing. They're going to do everything to placate James Harden. What, they're afraid of losing him
He may not
Houston?
even be back.
That's
right.
why Mike D'Antoni. That's why Mike D'Antoni is an interesting name. He had James Harden in Houston. James Harden was MVP there. Daryl Morey connection.
Adonde, you're shaking your head no.
Well, he also had Pau Gasol and Dwight Howard in L.A. Mike D'Antoni with teams that are oriented around big men, not a good idea. If it was just Harden, yes.
David
not
Dennis
with
Jr.
Embiid.
will give you the last word here.
Yeah, I would not do the D'Antoni 7 seconds or less with Joel Embiid trying to run up and down the court. They need somebody who's more catered to his skill set. But in terms of ranking those jobs, I'll agree with Frank. It's got to be Milwaukee.
Milwaukee 1. Is Phoenix 2 or is Philly 2? I guess that's the question I have.
I think Phoenix is probably 2. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. I mean, you can build around them, especially with the trades that they have in the offseason.
We move on to tonight. Lakers-Nuggets Game 1. Has anybody looked better than Denver the first 2 rounds? The Lakers, not just underdogs here, somehow kind of overlooked and understated. David Dennis Jr., I'll remind you, you had Golden State rolling them in the last series. You're not going to get the Pablo Torre treatment here, but you're getting some Utes. Frank Isola, you had the Lakers. Here's some points. I'm looking for most important player, X factors, and keys to victory and keys to your heart, J.A. Donde. Go ahead.
One thing that's interesting, Jokic said, you have to throw out the regular season because the Lakers are a totally different team with the way they remade themselves at the trade deadline. I'd argue that the Nuggets are a different team too, not because of personnel changes. They're playing differently. They had the biggest boost of any team in point differential in the playoffs so far. They all the way up to +9 point differential per game, and that's the only stat that really matters in this case. I think the way this series plays out, Jokic and Anthony Davis pretty much even each other out, thus Jamal Murray becomes the key. He's averaging more points in these playoffs than LeBron James. He's really the difference, what we haven't seen since the last time these two teams met in the conference finals. He was there in the bubble, missed most of the next 2 years with injuries. Now he's back to playing the way he was capable of. They're going to need that version of Jamal Murray to get past the Lakers.
On the chart today, though, questionable to play because of an illness, which has been affecting him for a couple days now. Mina Kimes, to you. X Factor. Key to your heart, please.
I mean, yeah, Jokic and Davis might even each other out, but let's take a moment to acknowledge how incredible this matchup is. Like, this is one of the most tantalizing one-on-one superstar cards we've seen in a while, and given how these players have played in the postseason, I am personally very excited about it. And Jokic, you've got a guy who just averaged a triple-double against a team we thought was going to be a super team, is shooting nearly 50% from 3. And in Davis, you have a superstar who has been the best defensive player in the playoffs. And he's going to have to be because unlike the bubble where, they put Dwight Howard on Jokic, he doesn't have a ton of support in defending him. To me, which one of these guys ends up being the best player in the series will probably determine which team wins this.
But you think it's kind of evenly matched. I'll ask you, Isola, is Jokic versus Davis an even matchup in your eyes?
I think it is. I hate agreeing with Mina, but she happens to be 100% right. I think it's that close.
I'll give her the points.
During the regular season, Davis defended Jokic for 22 minutes. Jokic was 16 of 25. What's amazing about Anthony Davis, what he's done here, LeBron in 7 of the 12 playoff games has scored 23 or fewer points, and yet the Lakers are 5-2 in those games. So once again, it hasn't been LeBron. You have to score 35, 45 for us to win. It's been the rest of the team. It's been Anthony Davis. Think about this, Tony. If you go back to January 9th, the last time they played, the starters for the Lakers were Juan Toscano-Anderson, Thomas Bryant, Dennis Schroeder, Patrick Beverley, Max Christie.
Roster.
I mean, it's
same with the bubble talk, right? This is the rematch of the bubble. I mean, the only 2 Lakers from the bubble team are LeBron and Davis. And David Dennis Jr., X factors, both tonight and in this series.
Well, we're going to stick with the big man thing. This series is going to be won in the paint. The Nuggets have scored the most paint points in the playoffs, and the Lakers, since the trade deadline, had allowed the 7th most paint points. That number has gone down significantly, but a lot of that's because they played a Golden State team that was shooting a lot of threes. But in terms of personnel X factors, you got to go with Aaron Gordon, who is sneakily putting together a masterpiece defensive playoff. He shut down Cat, and he held Kevin Durant to 38% from the field, 11 turnovers with his 11 assists. If he can match up with LeBron and cause him troubles like Wiggins did, that can alleviate some of that pressure that they need defensively. And most importantly, if he can get some minutes defending Anthony Davis, that can spell Jokic a little bit so he won't have to do so much on both sides of the court.
Ooh, that horn came in quick. Now I need a pick for the series. J.A. Donde.
Nuggets. Jokic won't allow Davis to roam defensively the way he did against the Warriors.
Mina Kimes.
I've got Denver in part because this isn't in the bubble. Playing in Denver is going to be tiring for the Lakers.
Frank Isola.
Barring an Anthony Davis injury, I'm not betting against LeBron James.
David Dennis Jr.
As you said, I picked against the Lakers all playoffs. I'm going to do it again. I'm going with Denver.
Tonight, NBA draft lottery. Here are the odds again. Detroit, Houston, and San Antonio, the best. All even at the best. Hornets, just a smidge behind them. Victor Wembanyama awaits. You people are reckless with the terms franchise player, generational talent. But David, how sure are you Wembanyama is a league-changing player, and what would be the best landing spot?
A league-changing player. I'm sorry. I don't know if anybody else saw the time he shot a three-point shot, morphed into the ground, and jumped out like Raiden from Mortal Kombat and put it back and dunked it. Like, we've never seen that before. If he does that once, he's worth a first-round pick. In terms of what team I would like to see him with, I would actually like to see him with Portland. They got the 5th best odds. Dame Lillard deserves to have a star next to him for sticking with that squad. And karmically, the city of Portland needs a #1 pick big man who can stay healthy and be the generational player that he should.
Karmically, yeah. Or they might be paranoid about that. J.A. Adonde.
Exactly, David. I would love to see him go and help Damian Lillard win the championship in Portland, too. But the angst, the worrying, the stress the fan base would go through, wondering if he's going to turn out like Bill Walton or Greg Oden or Sam Bowie and have an injury that derails his career. I don't want to put that fan base through it again. I'm sorry. I'd like to see him go to, how about Detroit, which hasn't won a playoff series since 2008? It'd be nice to see the Pistons become relevant again. 2008, also the last time a #1 overall pick wound up winning an MVP. That was Derrick Rose. We're due for another franchise-altering generational.
And you believe Wembanyama is that player?
I think he is that. I've seen enough. I'm convinced.
Mina Kimes.
Yeah, as far as how good he is, I know the French League's not the NBA, but at the age of 18, he led the league in points, rebounds, and assists. He appears to be designed in a lab to play basketball. As much as I would like him to go to Portland just so we don't have to pretend Dame's going to leave again, I'm with J.A. I really like Detroit and how he fits with that young core, Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. That would be a fun team for a long time.
And Frank Isola.
Yeah, he's made for this, to the point where he thought he'd be playing in the NBA at a young age, so he spent that much time learning English, and he speaks perfect English, barely with a French accent. I think he's going to end up with one of the Texas teams. Houston, San Antonio always get a big man. I'd like it to be Charlotte. It's actually closer to Paris than maybe Texas is. And here's one other thing. Many moons ago, Michael Jordan gave Frenchman Nicolas Batum $100 million. You want to talk about karma, David? How about now getting Victor Wembanyama?
Tomb Raider. Yeah, haven't thought about him other than that. You believe he's that generational talent. Okay. Time to the Donde in the lead with 20 coming up. Aaron Judge. And the eyes have it. Adonde. Dennis, are you looking off camera here? Carolina, Florida. First NHL conference finals ever with 4 teams south of Philly. Dallas's Game 7 win last night, smoldering and then raucous. Youth movement, Jake Ottinger shutting it down in net, and Wyatt Johnson went on to be the game decider. The spicy run for the Seattle Kraken in their second season, but they go into the pot. What do you buy? What do you sell, Mina Kimes?
I'll metaphorically pour one out for the Kraken because I'm buying that this season was a huge success for them. Despite improving their scoring by 40 points in the regular season, I don't think anyone expected them to beat Colorado, take Dallas to 7, and now going to next year feels like the future is bright. They have 10 draft picks in the upcoming draft. They've got cap space, and they've got a young star in Matty Beniers. So it was definitely a good season.
Yeah, Donde?
Great point, Mina, and they'll benefit from this, and I think the team will benefit, the fans will benefit too, right? From having this experience, they're going to be so much more invested. You can believe in this team because they're delivering, they're rewarding all that excitement. Look like a great environment. Speaking of great environments, Vegas is a good one too. Don't sleep on the Golden Knights experience, one of the best in-game experiences.
Okay, can we maybe also talk about the team that won Game 7, the Dallas Stars? David Dennis Jr.
I'm buying the Stars here. I mean, I know we look down on NBA, NHL comparisons, but the Stars are like the anti-Sixers because Oettinger had a terrible Game 6, and yeah, it's possible to come back and have a good Game 7 after that with 21 saves. And then DeBoer, the coach here, is the closer. 7-0 in Game 7. This is the 4th team he's won Game 7s with. As a coach, is the 4th time he's been first year as a coach and taking them this far in the playoffs. It's about him and what he's been able to do with this team and how far they can go.
Frank Isola.
I love low-scoring Game 7s, just like in baseball and hockey. 49 goals have been scored in total the first 6 games. Game 7 is 2-1. But the Seattle Kraken, that's an amazing season. A 40-point improvement. The future looks bright. The only thing that we missed out on was Mina dropping the ceremonial puck at one of their Stanley Cup games. Oh, well.
It's coming. It's coming.
All Southern Frozen Four. Southern Knights. Is that good for the league, Frank Isola?
You know what? Would I rather see Boston in there after the year they had? Maybe, but guess what? These 4 teams deserved it. There are great players on both teams. I think right now, Carolina is the favorite in the final.
Adonde?
It's helping them gain traction in new markets, true, but can we get a Canadian team back? It's been 30 years now since the Canadian team won the
Not
Cup.
those markets. That's got to be 4 of the fastest growing markets in this country, right? Vegas and Dallas and Carolina and Florida. We'll move on. Buy or sell 2, this nuke from Aaron Judge. Check this out. Oof. But before it.
He's looking at something, and then the next move is that powerful swing, and he blasts one to center field.
That's Buck Martinez and Dan Shulman as well on the Sportsnet broadcast. Amazing they saw it. After the game, Judge was asked.
I was kind of trying to see who was chirping in the dugout. So it's 6-0. Like, when he got tossed, let's go to work now.
Check out this camera work once more. The Sportsnet broadcast. A+ job. Frank, what do we have here? Do you buy Shulman and Martinez's questioning Judge's eyes? Do you buy Judge's explanation?
Aaron Judge is a classy player, a classy guy, but his side eye, I got to give him the side eye on that one. I am not buying, that explanation. He talked about chirping. They were tipping pitches. It's happened forever in baseball. Clearly, they caught something in the dugout. They're chirping all the time. Fans are chirping. He's only doing it now, and he happens to hit a home run. We'll see tonight if he gets hit on the rump at the first pitch he faces.
David Dennis Jr.
I'm buying Aaron Judge as somebody who has faced unfounded accusations of using his eyes to look off camera to get an advantage on this show. I feel him in his explanation. On top of that, that was the 6th straight slider at the bottom of the, that he faced. Of course, he didn't need to look off to see what was coming next. He knew what was happening. He hit it, 400 feet.
460. J. Adonde.
I'm buying every aspect of that TV production. Great job by everyone to catch that and comment on it. And I'm selling Judge up to anything nefarious. I mean, the guy's coming off the best home run hitting season in AL history. I don't think he
that might make some people question it just for that, though, Jay, right?
He had another home run in this game. Well, he doesn't need anything from the dugout.
For the last couple of games.
Mina, is it all right on a broadcast to question what's going on here? And is it all right the way Judge explained it?
It's not only all right, it's appropriate. It's important context because it happened. And frankly, for a player who has to block out so much noise, to be distracted, I would think whatever was said in the dugout would have to be so extreme that other people would have noticed. There's nothing wrong with him looking. It's not breaking the rules if technology's not used. I don't buy his explanation.
I think everybody winds up looking pretty good at the end of it, though. For Judge to be the captain of the team, calling out his players like that, that.
Careful, throwing at him.
Well, Nori's overhead slam, smacking Novak in the calf area. Djokovic didn't seem to like it, nor Nori's energy during the match. Mina, does Nori owe an apology for the overhead while your opponent's looking away?
No, maybe a mild one at best. He had already started his overhand motion when Djokovic started turning. That's on him, and he was already in his feelings. He complained about Nori celebrating afterwards. This isn't a big foul.
Adonde?
Look, this is what you do when you hit the net cord and the ball drops in for a point. Gonna need something a little stronger for when you drill someone in the Achilles tendon. Yes, I know he'd been up to some antics. You know what? I like the antics. Tennis could use a little more of that, a little less of the Nick Kyrgios, that extra that goes along with it. But let's have some guy that riles up opponents.
But Jay, he was already in the middle of his motion and didn't even see Djokovic turn around. Never turn your back on the ball or a punch. A double-point answer from Mina Kimes. Showdown 2, Josh Allen and Matt Barkley were taking batting practice in Toronto yesterday. Josh Allen hit 2 into the second deck.